What if I told you that when an Amish teenage girl discovers she is pregnant before marriage, the path ahead runs through a bishop's office, a public confession, and a community that will either hold her or quietly push her out, and she has almost no say in which? The silence before anyone knows. For most Amish teenage girls, the first weeks after realizing she is pregnant are spent entirely alone with the knowledge. There is no clinic she can walk into, no counselor she can call, no friend she can text at midnight when the fear becomes too heavy to carry quietly. What there is instead is the particular Amish silence around pregnancy itself, a community where the word is rarely spoken aloud, even in normal circumstances, where bodies and their workings are treated with a modesty so complete that a girl may have reached this moment with almost no understanding of how she arrived here. She carries it alone until she cannot anymore. No education, no warning. Amish schools do not provide sex education. The topic is considered private, governed by modesty and faith rather than formal instruction, and most Amish parents treat the subject with a discretion so complete that many girls enter their teenage years with only the knowledge that farming and observation have provided. Some communities have former Amish women who have written about reaching adulthood with almost no understanding of their own bodies. In this context, a teenage pregnancy is not simply a moral failure in the community's eyes. It is also, quietly and painfully, the outcome of a system that withheld the information that might have prevented it. The community rarely acknowledges this connection directly. The girl bears the consequence regardless. The parents find out. In most cases, it is the mother who finds out first, and the way she finds out is rarely through a direct conversation. It is through observation, the same close attention that Amish mothers apply to everything in their household, that notices a daughter's body changing before the daughter has found the words to say anything. The conversation that follows is described by former Amish women consistently as one of the most devastating of their lives, not because of shouting or violence, but because of the particular quality of Amish parental grief, which is quiet, contained, and somehow harder to survive than anger would have been. The father is told, and his silence carries its own weight. Within days, the immediate family knows. Within a week, in a community where information moves through every household without being spoken aloud, most of the district knows too. The family does not announce it. They do not need to. The bishop is called. The involvement of the bishop is not optional. In an Amish community, a premarital pregnancy is a church matter, not a private family matter, and the bishop's role is to manage it as one. He visits the family, usually within days of the situation becoming known to church leadership, and the conversation he has with the girl and her parents determines the path that follows. He will want to know who the father is. He will want to know whether marriage is possible. He will explain what the church requires of her, which in virtually every Amish community means a public confession before the congregation at the next church service. This meeting is not presented to the girl as a conversation she has equal standing in. The bishop holds authority that her family, however much they love her, cannot override. His assessment of the situation, his judgment about the young man's responsibility, and his determination of what restoration looks like for her inside the community are decisions that belong to him. She sits in that meeting and receives what is decided. The weight of it, the loss of any meaningful say in what her own life looks like from this moment forward, is something many former Amish women describe as the defining feeling of that period. The public confession. The confession is required before she can be restored to good standing in the church, before a wedding can take place, and before the community can officially move forward from the situation. She stands before the congregation, which in a typical Amish district means hundreds of people who have known her since she was old enough to walk, and she acknowledges what she has done. The specific words vary by community and bishop, but the act itself does not. She speaks, the congregation listens, the bishop offers formal forgiveness on behalf of the church. What makes this moment harder than most outsiders imagine is not the public humiliation alone, though that is real. It is the disproportion of it. She is visibly pregnant or known to be so. Her body has made the confession unavoidable and inescapable in a way that the young man's body never will. She stands in front of everyone. He may stand beside her, or he may not, depending on the community's practice and whether marriage has been arranged. Either way, the physical reality of what happened is carried by her alone in a room full of people who will never need to look at him the way they are looking at her in this moment. What happens to the boy? The young man's experience of the same situation is, in most Amish communities, considerably lighter than hers. He is also required to confess if he is baptized and if the situation is known. But if he has not yet been baptized, the church's formal disciplinary process cannot reach him in the same way it reaches a member. His body does not announce what happened. His daily life continues with a visibility that hers does not. In communities where marriage is arranged quickly, he gains a wife and a household. In communities where his family has more social standing than hers, the pressure on him to take responsibility can be softer than the pressure placed on her to accept whatever outcome the bishop and the two families determine together. Former Amish women who have spoken about this experience describe a consistent double standard in how the community's attention distributes itself. The question most often asked about her is what she did and what she will do next. The question most often asked about him is whether he will do the right thing, framing his response as a choice to be made rather than a consequence already arrived. She has no equivalent choice available to her. By the time the community is discussing the situation openly, her future has largely already been decided by other people in a room she may not have been invited into. The rushed wedding. When the young man is willing and both families can be brought into agreement, the wedding happens quickly. There is no waiting for the traditional November wedding season, no long engagement, no time for the couple to process what is happening between them before they are joined formally in front of the community. The ceremony is the same as any Amish wedding in its structure, but the circumstances surrounding it are understood by everyone in attendance without being stated. The bride may or may not be visibly pregnant by the time the vows are exchanged, depending on how quickly everything moved. What the rushed wedding provides is resolution for the community more than it provides stability for the couple. It closes the public situation, restores the formal order, and allows everyone to move forward within the structure the Amish community depends on. What it does not provide is time. A teenage girl who was pregnant, frightened, and largely without agency in the decisions made on her behalf is now also a wife, and within months, a mother. Inside a household, she is expected to run with the same competence as women twice her age. Some rise to it. Some carry the weight of having had no real choice in any of it for the rest of their lives, quietly, the way Amish women carry most of the things they are not permitted to say out loud. If he refuses to marry her, not every young man agrees to marry. Some deny involvement. Some are from districts far enough away that the social pressure does not reach them effectively. Some simply will not be moved, regardless of what the bishop or their own family says. When this happens, the girl's situation becomes considerably harder. She remains in her parents' home, carrying a pregnancy that the community can see, with no wedding on the horizon and no resolution that the community's structure can easily provide. In these cases, the child is typically raised inside the family home, with the girl's parents effectively becoming the child's primary caregivers, while the girl herself takes on whatever role the family determines is appropriate. Some of these children are raised knowing who their father is. Others are not. The community, which prides itself on forgiveness and restoration, must now absorb an ongoing situation rather than a closed one, which is considerably harder for a social structure built on clear roles and resolved matters. The girl herself faces a particular kind of long-term difficulty. She is not shunned if she has confessed and been restored, but her prospects for marriage within the community are complicated by her situation. Some Amish men, particularly widowers with children of their own, will consider marrying a woman in her position. Others will not. Her path forward inside the community is narrower than it was before. Through no fault she will ever be able to fully explain to the child who grows up beside her. The community and the child. Once the confession has been made and whatever resolution is available has been reached, the community's response to the child itself is, in most cases, genuinely warm. Amish theology treats every child as a blessing from God, regardless of the circumstances of their conception, and a community that might judge the girl's situation harshly will rarely extend that judgment to the infant she is carrying. Babies are welcomed. They are held, admired, and folded into the community's daily life the way every Amish child is. This does not mean the child grows up without any awareness of their origins. In a community where everyone knows everyone across generations, and where the circumstances of a birth are rarely fully forgotten even when they stop being discussed, a child born under these circumstances may encounter the knowledge of their own story in the particular Amish way, indirectly through overheard conversations or the careful silences of adults who stop talking when they enter the room. Whether this shapes them depends entirely on the family and the community around them, on whether the adults in their life choose to build something stable over the difficult beginning or allow the beginning to remain a weight the child is asked to carry without being given the tools to understand it. Most Amish families choose to build. That is what they know how to do. The ones who leave instead, not every girl stays. Some, faced with a rushed marriage to a young man they may barely know, a public confession they were not prepared to survive, and a future that was decided for them in rooms they were not invited into, make the choice to leave instead. Leaving while pregnant and unmarried is one of the most difficult versions of leaving the community that exists, because it combines all of the practical obstacles of any young person departing, with no ID, no money, and no outside connections, with the additional physical and emotional weight of carrying a pregnancy alone into a world that was never explained to her. The organizations that help young people leave Amish communities are familiar with this situation. Former Amish women who have built lives outside the community and now work in support roles describe it as one of the most urgent cases they encounter because the timeline is not flexible and the practical needs compound quickly. Housing, prenatal care, documentation, and income all have to be figured out faster than a girl in this situation has the resources or experience to manage without help. What the ones who leave carry with them is not just the pregnancy. It is the full weight of a community's worth of relationships, all ending at once at a moment when they are least equipped to absorb that loss. Some build genuinely stable lives outside. Some carry the grief of that departure for decades, alongside the life they were eventually able to build. Very few describe the choice as easy, even the ones who ultimately say it was right. What happens when an Amish teenage girl gets pregnant before marriage is not a single story. It is a situation that plays out differently depending on the community, the bishop, the young man's response, the family's standing, and the girl's own capacity to survive what the next weeks and months ask of her. But across all the variations, certain things remain consistent. She carries the visibility of it. She stands up for the confession. She receives the community's judgment before she receives its forgiveness. And whatever resolution is reached, the path that led to this moment, the absence of education, the silence around bodies and intimacy, the community's deep discomfort with even speaking the word pregnancy in circumstances like these is never formally addressed. It simply remains in place for the next generation of girls coming up behind her. The community's response, in most cases, is not cruel. It is not designed to destroy a girl who made a mistake or who was placed in a situation she lacked the knowledge to avoid. It is designed to restore order, maintain the community's moral structure, and bring a difficult situation back inside the framework that everyone depends on. Whether that framework serves the girl as well as it serves the community is a question the community rarely stops to ask, and that the girl, by the time she is a wife and a mother, rarely has the time or the permission to ask out loud. What she has instead is the same thing Amish women have always had: the daily work in front of her, the community around her, and the knowledge carried quietly that she survives something most people outside her world will never fully understand.